All right. So in case you didn't know, Whatcom Community College is host institution to 2 national centers plus the Washington State Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. Those 2 centers are first, the Center of Academic Excellence Candidates National Center, and in that center, we work with the National Security Agency to administer the CAE-C program. And then the other is the National Cybersecurity Training and Education Center, funded by the National Science Foundation. So both of those work hand in hand to provide resources and to the nation in the area of cybersecurity. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the NCyTE Center first, which is the one that's focused on helping academic institutions obtain their CAE designation. I'm just going to speak very highly, provide a broad overview of what the center does, and if you're interested in that designation option, then how you can move forward with that. So I pictured here is the National Cyber Director, Harry Coker, and Stephen Troop. Stephen is the director of the CCNC, and he couldn't be here this morning to speak to this particular piece, but I did want you to know who he is because he is leading the charge with respect to this particular center. Next slide, Mike, please. So the CAE Candidates National Center, it again helps institutions to obtain the CAE designation. The importance of that designation is that it can help institutions really improve their local academic and economic status and obtain more student participation at their school, as well as contribute to cybersecurity workforce needs across the nation, and you know, ideally in their local region, but any student coming out of a program is going to help put a dent in the particular workforce shortage. So here you'll see on our website, Whatcom commissioned a research study that kind of can be used to help faculty or administrators sell the idea of establishing a CAE candidates or a CAE designation for their institution. So as you can see here, the designation contributed, when Whatcom first looked at it, it contributed like 16.3 million in earnings and 948 new jobs in the region surrounding the college at the time it was looking at this. So, so that's the kind of impact that it can have for your local community and region, and that report is available on our website, and so I just wanted you to know about that. Next slide, please. So the CAE Candidates National Center, one of 5 NSA CAE centers. So we work in collaboration with those other NSA national centers, as well as NCyTE and the other NSF ATE centers. We provide workshops and mentorship for those seeking to obtain a CAE-C designation. And so there's several designations currently: the CAE Cyber Defense, the CAE Cyber Operations, and the CAE Research. So each of those has their own distinct programs of study. For those institutions looking to obtain that designation, they need to submit an application through our process in order to be considered. And one of the first steps is a checklist to determine if you're ready and what kind of time frame you would be ready to proceed with. If you are within 6 months, of achieving the designation, then you would go through our mentoring and peer review process. If you are beyond 6 months of being ready to proceed with the application process, then we would point you to some program development resources through one of our advisors. Next slide, Mike. I'm going to kind of go quickly through here since we got a late start. So again, we help oversee the program. We guide community colleges and universities through the rigorous process, and we manage the evaluation of candidate process. And we also manage the tool that's used to process the applications and track designation status and redesignation. Next slide, please. So again, there are multiple CAE national centers. We work very closely with the CAE Peer Review National Center as part of the process for assisting applicants through the process. Next slide, please. So as of February, we had 320 in process and 80 in the application assistance phase and 29 in the are active in the program development phase. You can see there's a lot of CAE designations on the East Coast, and the reason I wanted to share this is because you don't see as many on the West Coast here, and we'd like to see more on the West Coast. So next slide, please. So again, if you're considering applying for a CAE candidates designation, then we have a number of resources available to you on our website. The link is embedded here in the slide deck that I'm sure Mike and Brent will share with you. And I would start here. We have a whole workshop video series that kind of walks you through the process as well. So anyway, check that out. All right, so next slide, please. I think we're gonna move into, last thing. So the NSA is currently looking at adding a program of study for cyber AI as part of the CAE-CD designation. So they have developed a set of KUs and that additional body of work, and for you to kind of keep track of what's going on in that space. I've provided a link here, and they continue to update that area as they proceed with that process. So again, they're just testing it now. They haven't opened it up for the community yet, but be on the lookout for that. The Cyber AI program of study will have 2 tracks here. One is use of AI for cybersecurity, and the other is cybersecurity for the AI itself. So next slide. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on, and we can take questions at the end. I'm going to go into NCyTE now, which is, again, the National Cybersecurity Training and Education Center. We're essentially developing individuals to secure our nation. Next slide, please. So NCyTE, it's been National Science Foundation funded center for cybersecurity education for more than 10 years. It started out as a project, if you will, an ATE project grant that was really focused on increasing the number of CAE designations on the West Coast. And then ultimately it expanded to a resource center and now a national center. So it's one of 20 active NSF-funded advanced technical education centers. A fewer number are considered national centers. The latest funding is $7.5 million over 5 years, supporting nearly 70 distinct activities that you can tap into. So the mission, again, is increasing both the quantity and quality of the cybersecurity workforce in the nation. Next slide, please. We have 4 principal goals: expanding cybersecurity education pathways and program diversity, developing and deploying leading edge cybersecurity curriculum, cultivating industry engagement and career opportunities, and disseminating efforts to improve current and future directions of cybersecurity in the U.S. Next slide, please. So we are governed by the NSF and a national visiting committee. As a national center, we also have external evaluator and an industry advisory committee. I have 4 sub or co-PIs on the grant, and they're shown here. I have a set of consultants that help do some of the projects or lead some of the projects, and we can go on to the next slide, please. So we have strategy alignment with the national strategies, goals, and lines of effort, our own institution's strategic plan, and then we have alignment with our industry and government strategic partnerships. Next slide, please. So on the disseminating and advancing cybersecurity for community colleges on the national space, in 2022, NCyTE hosted the role of community colleges in cybersecurity education, a Future Direction Summit in Alexandria, Virginia, and that was in June of 2022. It was in collaboration with other NCyTE cybersecurity centers, as well as government leaders and other leaders from education, government, industry, and business, to discuss the progress and impacts of community colleges on workforce development that directly impacts cybersecurity. So as a result of the summit, there was an action plan and a publication, that publication shown here on the left, and that ultimately provided input into the current national cybersecurity strategy and national cybersecurity workforce and education strategy. So next slide, please. And this past year, when they announced those 2 strategies, our president, Kathy Hyen Brown, was invited to participate on the panel, speaking to community colleges' role, critical role in assisting with helping fill the workforce shortage. So there are still nearly 500,000 cybersecurity job postings nationally. That source is cyberseek.org. The demand still vastly exceeds supply. Supply of workers is increasingly low. And it continues to hold the national attention of the Office of the National Cyber Directorate at the White House. Next slide, please. So our strategic partnerships, one of those, we have a strong partnership with Microsoft. Several years ago, we initiated a collaborative project with them called Accelerating Community College Cybersecurity Excellence. And it was a partnership between Microsoft and NCyTE. They funded us with a philanthropic grant of $1.5 million, and it was focused on diversifying the cybersecurity workforce, as well as, again, increasing the pipeline and the output of the pipelines. And so at that time, they set a goal and we were not the only partner, but they set a goal amongst all the partners that participated here of reaching 250,000 persons trained through these programs. By 2025, they announced earlier this month that we've already exceeded that. So next slide, please. And so here, here's kind of a snapshot of some of what they indicated about reaching that and maximizing impact through strategic partners such as this. So next slide. So we have strategic partnerships with other industry and training partners. We also have partnerships with certification bodies such as CompTIA, ISC Squared, ISACA, and SANS Institute. Again, we partner with the other NSF, ATE centers, national centers, diversity partners such as ADME, ACES, Girl Scouts, NCL, WESIS, and WITI. Those are just some examples. And then, of course, all of our federal partners here on the right. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to share, in case you weren't aware, hadn't seen cyberseek.org, the highest held and highest requested certifications. So on certification holders on the left, openings requesting certification. So the top certifications are, according to Cyberseek, are the CompTIA, the CISP, the CISA, the GIAC, and the CISM, and then CIP. And I share that with you because our partnership with those organizations and other industry partners who provide the boot camps is really contributing to helping faculty and professionals obtain those certifications more rapidly. So next slide, please. So we look at this data and what the industry and where the jobs are, what job roles they're looking for. So this is kind of important to our strategy and prioritization of establishing helping institutions establish programs and making sure that we're really targeting the right things to fill these jobs and job vacancies. So this is a snapshot from some data from Cyberseek, and you'll notice it said there's like over 10,000 job openings in Washington State. And then you see the numbers in each domain. So the highest number of job openings is in oversight and governance. So that's where many of the non-technical kind of job roles are. So really, that's the number one right now. Next is implementation and operation, and then design and development. I thought it was interesting that investigation down here at the bottom. So I think we're beginning to saturate that area. This 203 is cyber intelligence type work roles. So anyway, I thought this was some interesting numbers. You can see we already have 1.2 million, over 1.2 million in jobs according to this, and then again just under 500,000 still as far as jobs to be filled. Next, and if you weren't aware, I'll say one more thing about the cyberseek.org. You're able to drill down on those larger buckets of governance to see all the specific job roles there. All right, so NCyTE initiatives and programs that are kind of helping in these areas of gap. So we have some initiatives and programs that we're expanding upon because they're still needed and continue to be needed, and that is faculty professional development. So we have a set of academies where you have the CompTIA courses that can lead to that obtaining the certification, and then other certification boot camps for like the CISSP, CISM, CISA. We're looking to add the IAPP's CIP cert and possibly some others, but we I think we also have the GIAC one. If not, we'll be working to get that one added as well. The federal government, Department of Defense, is requiring now the CMMC cert, and so we offer that workshop as well, or that course as well. And then we will be adding AI cyber to the portfolio this year. We have a national virtual career fair that's offered each year. Typically, that's in the fall timeframe, September. This is an invitation for CAE designated schools and their students to work with, to interact and engage with industry and learn about potential jobs in the government space. So that is another good reason to have that designation. Virtual Cybersecurity Career Challenge. This is getting kicked off in January, and it's an opportunity, really it's an opportunity for faculty to integrate kind of a capstone project. In this particular challenge, the student will set up a business. They'll work in teams, they'll set up an actual business, they'll set up the security for that business, and then there's red and blue teams that try and attack, or that will attempt to penetrate the security on that business, and so they learn a lot. They'll actually set up the network for that business and the website. And so they'll learn a lot through that process, real hands-on experience. They can reflect on their resume. And so that's a good one to engage with if you haven't or aren't aware of that one. Competitions and career exploration. Again, we sponsor and support students in that. And as Mike indicated, the EPNC folks are going to be coming out to Washington to share more information about the career exploration resources for for faculty and advisors. We have, again, an extensive curriculum collection on Clark.Center. NCyTE does fund the center, or the platform, and works very closely with Townsend to maintain that collection for the nation. Transfer pathway models. We have lots of resources and information about models that can be adopted within your state, depending on your regulations, or be presented to your administrators and government leaders on how you could accomplish better pathways from high school to community college to university. And we also have one, a nice mapping for military, and how to give them credit for prior military experience, and how it maps to their KUs. So that's a really good resource if you weren't aware of that. New initiatives and programs. So the Jumpstart into Cyber, this was a partnership with NSF and SANS organization, focused on underrepresented groups, and having them go through a process to obtain their GAC certification. So this the enrollment for this is closed currently, but depending on its final outcomes, we're likely to maybe see that one again. The Faculty Fellowship Program. This is a program geared towards students in their last year of a bachelor's or a master's degree program. Not necessarily in STEM, preferably, and not necessarily in cyber. But this gives them again a career exploration of becoming a teacher. We've had huge success with this, our traditional cohort on this, where many of the students that have graduated from that program are already have jobs as either an adjunct or full-time faculty at a community college or university. This year, we will also be having, in partnership with Microsoft, we'll be we'll be doing a cohort. We'll be doing our traditional cohort funded by NCyTE, and then we'll be doing an additional cohort that is for military, separated military folks and or industry folks. So there's more information about that. I provided the links embedded within this slide here. Faculty internship program. That program is giving faculty an opportunity to go out into an industry operation. The win-win exchange here in that program is that the faculty get to really see how the operations of that particular industry partner works, so that they can integrate that back into the classroom and their teaching, as well as then the industry may be learning more about the cybersecurity threat and defense for their program. So that one has been successful as well. Typically runs over the summer, but that's a good one as well for faculty. Cybersecurity Across Disciplines Summit. So this year we'll be in our 3rd year of the summit. That's had really good success. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute. And then also our international outreach and engagement. I'll talk about, I think I have separate slides for those. So next slide, please. And how are we doing on time? I gotta speed it up a little. Many of you on this probably already know this, but I have to say it. Key concepts and consideration in cybersecurity is the CIA triad. It's about confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data and the systems that are the manual and technology systems that support access to that data, processing that data, etc. So cybersecurity is needed in all disciplines to some extent. That extent will vary depending on the discipline. And our prioritization is the 16 critical infrastructure sectors. I was happy to see one of our CISA partners from Washington in the meeting this morning. Essentially, CISA has defined critical infrastructure as those assets whose systems and networks, whether physical or virtual, are considered so vital to the U.S. that their incapacitation or destruction would have debilitating effect on security, national economic security, national public health, or safety, or any combination thereof. So we are prioritizing our work around those sectors, and especially in the area of curriculum, and making sure students coming out into the workforce understand as they enter those sectors. Next slide, please. The 16 sectors are here, and but you can see so it's pretty broad. Includes even emergency services sector. Many of them you probably already know about in your programs, maybe even are focused on, like the healthcare, the more common ones. But there is a lot more work and need in food and agriculture sector, water and wastewater systems, the ones that maybe haven't been getting as much attention. So we want to make sure that everyone understands there's huge opportunities here to really fill some jobs in these areas. So next slide, please. All right, so back to our SIAD. Again, our cybersecurity across disciplines is looking at partnership and proposals at our SIAD event from both industry and academia. So this event is intended to bring industry and academia together to really focus on what is needed for addressing curriculum in the critical infrastructure areas, and how can there be greater collaboration ensuring that curriculum is meeting the need. The first time we held this event, there was a group of faculty and subject matter experts from the water, wastewater sector, and they were able to put together a really well-developed lessons and kind of a learning series, if you will, on that particular sector. So we're hoping we can do that with each of the sectors through continuation of this event. So again, we'll be making our call for proposals in the very near future, probably either later this week or next week, or sorry, later today or early next week. And the proposal the proposal opportunity will close in March, I believe. So there is some time to develop good proposals and working collaboratively with a partner. Next slide, please. How am I doing on time? We're at 9:43. All right. So I think Mike mentioned Clark, Clark.Center. And it is a repository, not only for just NCyTE's collection, but you can see there's other like Gen Cyber collection, Cyber Heroes. So they're the NICE challenge collection. So there are a number of collections, and it's growing, that are available for free. It's the largest compilation of free, high value, high impact curriculum available. You can get your curriculum added to this. It would need to be vetted first, but it can be added. It's very ready to use modular content. There's videos, there's labs, there's slides that can be reused and modified under Creative Commons. So you can take the content in whole or in part and you know, modify it to best meet your particular classroom needs. So it's an excellent repository and resource for you. Next slide, please. So we have some additional NCyTE curriculum resources, and that some of which have not been able to be ported over to Clark yet. And some may not, because of the technology platforms that they're developed and maintained on. And so I wanted to show you that those would be accessible from our website to those particular platforms. So you'll want to check those out as well. And this is just a snapshot of what's there currently. Next slide, please. All right, so I know top of the mind is artificial intelligence. This was just a little funny, and reality is always funny. So next slide, please. All right, so what have we done so far with respect to resources for AI for you? So earlier in the year, we held at our monthly member meeting, some subject matter experts spoke on the AI impact on cybersecurity instruction and work roles. So our monthly member recordings are available to go back and listen to. If you missed that, I'd recommend you do that because that's available to you, as well as our partners are beginning to help us. So the February 16th meeting was Microsoft and their AI trainer toolkit. They now have, as well as like Intel and some other large industry partners, are doing some AI skilling for all, where they're providing free, again, free curriculum, free access, especially for educators, to again accomplish a similar goal as we did with them on the cybersecurity one. where they're wanting to maximize and optimize the training that we get delivered to people across the US about this. So more to come on the AI piece for sure. Next slide, please. I think I'm just about done. Just wanted to mention NCyTE does do some research projects. We have some that have been completed and are in progress or underway. That information's available on our website as we do that, and we do release RFPs for partners to participate in that at certain times. So if you're not currently a member, I encourage you to sign up to be an NCyTE member. It's free. Also join and subscribe to our monthly newsletter. That way you're tapped into information as it becomes information and opportunities as they become available. Next slide, please. So on our international outreach and engagement, so we've established, this was a specific goal that NSF had for us, was to do international outreach and engagement. As one of the outputs of our initial visit to the UK, we established a partnership and a collaborative, if you will, specifically focused on cybersecurity education. A subset of that are 3 special interest groups. One's on diversity, one's on industry, and one's on innovation in the classroom. And so the QR codes here will get you to the page where you can inquire about participating on any one of those if you're interested. So next slide, please. All right, so our impact, it's just we have 481 member institutions currently. 245 of those are community and technical colleges, 132 are universities, 100 high schools, 3 middle schools, and 1 school district. And so we certainly want to continue to grow. We encourage you to share the word about NCyTE, about the opportunity to sign up as a member for free, and really tap into some of the resources that are available to you. And you know, I'll just close in saying, if we can go to the next slide, please. I'll just close in saying that. So here's our social media. So we also have YouTube subscribers. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, our LinkedIn, our Facebook, all those things. But really just know that Brent and Mike with the Washington State CCOE are really invaluable resources to you here in the state of Washington. And they can, you know, help you tap into our resources as well. But anyway, I hope this helped you understand what's available to you right here in your own backyard, and take any questions. I did want to say too about dissemination, because I know Mike or Brent mentioned that earlier. So definitely leverage Washington CCOE if you want to disseminate or promote an event that you're having within the state of Washington that you're making available to others. And then certainly utilize us if you need broader reach on any of your activities. We're happy to get that posted on our event calendar and send it out to our membership if in fact you're trying to engage a wider group. So with that, I'll be quiet now and look for questions. Brent, I'll turn it back over to you or Mike.
Yeah, thanks so much, Michelle. So I'm just kind of curious if you could share a little bit of insight on not intended, but what would you say if college is evaluating the concept of going for the CAE designation? What would be your recommendation to get started?
So I would visit the resource that I provided earlier on CAE designation resource on our website. There's a checklist. That would be the first step. We always recommend that they kind of walk through that checklist to evaluate where they're at with their existing program, or where they would need to be at a minimum to move forward in that process. So that's kind of a mini self-assessment, if you will, to kind of help gauge where they are. And then certainly you could reach out to us, and we're happy to meet with an institution to just have a preliminary conversation about where you're at. And we've done that with folks even here in Washington, to kind of have that preliminary look to help guide you and determine, are you within the 6 months, or are you likely within the 6 months, or are you beyond that, and kind of can help navigate you to the right program assistance.
Great.
And I would encourage you too to watch the little video series on there about the process, because that will help you know what you're stepping into. Because it is a commitment. Once you get it, you have to do certain things to maintain it. And your institution makes a commitment to continue to support that.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
I think this is a valuable opportunity for folks here to ask Michelle questions, to get a national perspective on the work that she's done with government. Anyone have burning questions for her? Anybody have feedback on things that they would like to see from the National Center?
As a recent alumni, as in graduating, how hard is it to break the gender barrier at the higher levels?
At the higher levels. So that still can be a challenge. I think it's improving. But yeah, it can be a challenge. And we see a lot of folks that maybe do reach that level and then are dropping out. They're like, because it is a challenge. It's a retention thing as well, as so yeah, it can be tough. It can be tough.
I think that's
Does-
an opportunity where people can, it's about networking, right? There's a lot of organizations that are springing up that are supporting a more fair and equitable gender and minorities and veterans in cybersecurity. So organizations like that NCyTE partners closely
Yeah.
with, WESIS, is great because that gets you connected with subject matter experts as well as leaders in the industry who just want to give back and help women and minorities get to the same level that they're at. So we definitely have some organizations like that. Another organization is Cybersecurity. There's a Pacific Northwest chapter that has sprung up here. So definitely get involved in those organizations and get connected with leaders.
Yeah, I will say that, the women in technology, women in cybersecurity, and women in cybersecurity, they, each of them have chapters, local chapters in most areas. But the WESIS, they also have allies, right? They have an allyship program. And so even absent that, though, I would say you want to develop some allies in the workplace and leverage those relationships. Those helped me a lot.
Awesome. Thank you for the info.
Mhm. Looks
I
like
have a
Richard.
question in the chat, and Richard Becker has his hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering, I had recently attended the U.S. National Champions for Skills USA, and they had a cyber competition as part of the program. And I was wondering if NCyTE has had any dealings with Skills USA in regards to, promoting the program, and then also getting students in their schools to talk about cybersecurity and incorporating it into their programs.
We probably have. I'm sure
Okay.
my leads on the cybersecurity competition piece. So I have John Sands and from Moraine Valley Community College, Kyle Jones from Sinclair, and I know they do a majority of the cybersecurity competition stuff for us for NCyTE sponsored
right.
stuff. But they're certainly engaged. I can tell you Dan Manson from the National Cyber League. He was one of the original co-PIs on NCyTE. And I'm sure that his group is participant to that.
Okay.
But
All right, thank you.
I made a note, because if we're
Yeah.
not, we will certainly look to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, this was
So
a
thank you.
competition. Yes, this was a competition that was just amazing. This used to be called VICA, VICA, back in my day, and it has grown. And there must have been, I would say, I think they estimated there were 15,000 people there, parents, students who were going through competitions in all aspects of, industries and stuff like that. So, okay, thanks.
We are at time, and I see people dropping off, and I appreciate everybody staying on for this long. There is one question from James Murray. We'll probably stay on a couple more minutes to answer your question. But before we do that, Brent, do you have any closing remarks you want to make?
I just want to thank you again, Michelle, for coming on and joining us here today. We would highly encourage everyone to sign up to be a member of NCyTE. It's free and gets really plugged into all the great resources. They also do monthly member meetings, and you can gain access to all the great resources and events that they're hosting. So that's definitely a good opportunity. I did have one question, and I'm partnering up with Cybersecurity, the Pacific Northwest chapter here, and doing an event in February for high school students and college students at Microsoft. I was curious if people think that would be interesting, and how hard it would be to get your students to attend something like that. So I don't know if anybody has feedback on that, but that's just something that I was thinking about. But other than that, I hope everyone has a great day. And yeah, I thought this was a good event.